Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very wet and drizzly Snetterton circuit here in the real-life snowy village of Norwich, but easing up on our Flux Motorsport touring car drivers today, and we have just got rain and some pretty overcast conditions scheduled for today's second round of the FMTCC. And if you didn't catch the first round, what a cracker it was. We had wall-to-wall action between three drivers in particular, with the console, Lecky 2000 and Pro Fubby, and I'm expecting much more of the same today. Drivers are heading out on track as soon as they can because of the wet conditions, looking to try and get in early laps, and we've actually got a change to the grid just for this evening, with Tiddy unable to make it and Essex Flatback stepping in. He's definitely going to be one to watch today. Keep your eye out for Essex Flatback. He's running in the number 17 for eMotorsports, and we'll go and have a little look at him before, but very accomplished touring car driver, and he'll be looking to try and upset the rest of the field today. I'll look over to the console, though. Looks as though he might be first out on track. See if he's got any traffic ahead of him by bringing up the map. Nope, looks as though he's going to be the first one to set a lap today, and he's just about to come across the line here around the Snetterton 200 circuit. So the middle of the Snetterton circuits here, the actual most original one around Snetterton. Snetterton, of course, one of the multitude of former RAF bases, transformed into a race car circuit in 1950. And we can see there the console just heading around Riches. Beg your pardon, he was just heading around Montreal, that corner, onto the Bentley Straight. And for those of you that aren't too au fait with the Snetterton 200, this is a tricky track at the best of times, mainly for what you see there, those huge sausage codes. The two of them really of note that you really want to avoid, especially in these wet conditions and in close quarter action like you're going to see at the beginning of this race. Once we get started, can quite easily buck the car over if you're not too careful. There's also another pretty deadly curve here on the inside, and also coming into turn one as well, although that one you do usually avoid unless you've got your driving line just a little bit too messed up. So first lap times are going to come in. The console has looked strong inside the practice. He sets the benchmark with a 1 minute 16.764. Lecky immediately beats it, and Wadge comes in as well with an even faster time in that number 25, Hakeem. He ran really well last week as well. Currently fourth in the standings, and really got his season off with a bang. Unheard of driver as far as I was concerned. I've not seen him out on track much, but really impressed me last week at COTA National. And there is Essex Flatback coming in with the first time, enough for second place. He finds himself just over 2/10 off the pace of Wags at the moment. Let's have a look who else we've got coming in setting times. Al Axon in 5th position, DJ Ledge in the BMW in 6th place. The BMWs are really going to struggle in these sort of conditions around this particular circuit today. Pro Fubby in 7th place at the moment. Expect better times from him. I've heard in the rumours that his practice has been going very well indeed. Then Big Ledge, 074 Ledgy in 8th place at the moment. Old Smokey's set a time. He finds himself 3.5 seconds off the pace though, and Porsche Man 4.8 seconds away, and Green Gaming almost 6 seconds off the pace at the moment. Let's wait and see what it goes out, and that screams as though both Porsche Man and Green Gaming might be on a cold lap time. Wadge makes an improvement on that already epic time as well as he crosses the line, comes in at 16.238. Oh, sorry, that's 1 minute 16.238, and the console leapfrogs over Essex Flatback. He goes up into 2nd place now, and things are going to get interesting. Looks as though the rain is due to ease off on the weather radars at the moment, so we may see dry conditions come the end of this qualification session. Just have to wait and see whether or not that's going to make any serious impact on these lap times. And you can see just from the graphics there how slick the track is. It's going to be real tricky if you make any mistakes in the braking zones. You can see the wipers going hell for leather trying to clear off that screen, and the console's looking pretty good so far. That's green sector 1, green sector 2. may well just have this one in the bag for provisional pole as he comes around the final corner. Looks as though he absolutely nailed that one. Bit of a sceptical gear change though on the way out. Let's see what his time comes in as he comes across the line. And it is enough for pole position. Look how close it is as well. 5 thousandths of a second currently between the console and Wadge. SX Flatpack still in third position, Lecky in fourth, currently inside the pits. Let's have a look at Pro Fubby at the moment. He's jumped up into fifth. In fact, he's just completed a lap, which is enough for third place. Finds himself just over 2/10 away from the console at the moment. That pushes another few drivers down. And who was that? I just saw a jump. I think it might have been Kovkarl setting a lap, coming up into sixth position. So a few drivers currently inside the pit making some adjustments. Essex Flatpack just coming out now, beginning a new cold lap, but Pro Fubby's making an improvement this time around. In fact, he's gone purple in sector 1 with a 24.352 according to my graphics here. Let's have a look what his sector 2 time is. But this is looking to be a pretty hot one. Look at the way that he throws it in underneath the bridge, under braking. So much control inside that Emochi Renault at the moment. And really is looking pretty strong. His sector 2 has struggled a little bit though. It's coming up as a white sector, so no improvements being made, and I wonder whether or not that sideways action was a little bit unwanted. Let's have a look how he is through the final corner. You can see him there avoiding that large curve as much as possible. Looked as though he nailed that one. Lecky, meanwhile, has just shown up as a purple in sector 2. Expect this one to be a good... Oh, in fact, it must have been purple from sector 2. Before he went into the pits. Apologies for that. Pro Fubby though not able to make any improvements, so looked as though the sector 2 and sector 3 times had let him down in the end. Let's see, we take a look at. Let's have a look at J46 Dyson, struggling I think a little bit with the setup in that SRT. Just about to cross the line now, and are we going to see any improvement? We are indeed, and it's enough for 13th place so far. Just 2.7 seconds, or just shy of it, away from the lead time at the moment. But you can see he's in and around that group at the moment. Just needs to lose 7 tenths, and he'll be up into the top 10 on the grid. Looks as though Wadge has just set purple in sector 3. No improvement being made though. Looked as though his first and second sector let him down, and this one's going to be a slow lap from him. His sector 1 time is showing way above, so that hints that a mistake's being made this lap. Let's have a look over to Essex Flatpack at the moment. Standing driver in that 4C Motorsport Renault Megane. He's way off the pace this time around. He's 6 tenths slower than his current best. Let's have a look what happens on the next lap. 11 minutes and 40 seconds remain inside the session, so plenty can go on. Rain is still coming down though here, so doesn't look as though it's going to dry out enough to make those improvements. It's going to be really hard to beat times unless mistakes have been made on their currents. So whilst we're following Essex Flatpack around just to see whether or not he can jump into the top 3, I'm going to give you a little rundown on what you can expect from Flux Motorsport TV throughout this coming week. You are of course tuned in. Oh, as we see a bit of contact there, that looked as though it was Al Axon and Essex Flatpack. And I'm going to expect a few body panels to be a little bit scuffed and scraped come the end of this race. I'll be very surprised if everybody gets away with a nose clean. As mentioned, you are currently tuning in to the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. Of course, coming up on Thursday live from Lecky 2000, and Toasty, you can tune in to the GT1. It looks as though Al Axon's there just struggling to keep his nose away. GT1 this week is taking place around Indianapolis Road Circuit over in the US of A. You can join us live from 8 o'clock UK time with Lecky 2000 bringing you all of the action there. Then it's over to the second round of our new GTE American Supercar Series. They're heading around Willow Springs International this week. You can tune in 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the US, which equates to 1 PM GMT. If you're up and about, then be sure to tune in for that one. But remember that we will be bringing you all of the highlight videos as soon as we can on all of these championships, or you can catch it live and direct from the YouTube channel. Then on to Saturday's action, LMP2 time, and the LMP2s are heading over to Zhuhai GP. We do apologise for the problems in the streams on both the GTE and the LMP2 races last week. Technical issues hindering our broadcast there, but hopefully all the gremlins are gone, and provided that the lines don't freeze up, we should be bringing you all of the action around Zhuhai GP for what's going on in the LMP2s. And then 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is turned for the Indy cars around Willow Springs, USA. If you're watching in the GMT time zone, you can catch that at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then, of course, the infamous GT3 Championship brought to you by the console, the current Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship holder. They're taking it around Zhuhai's GP circuit in China this week. 8 o'clock UK time, 3 PM Eastern Standard Time. And then rounding up the week is the Stock Car Championship, and they're going around Willow Springs. It's going to be a real tricky race around a very tricky circuit, just made even harder by the American stock cars. We'll have One Shoe and Multi 56 bringing you all of that action. That comes live 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or 1 AM GMT. So whilst I've been chattering on, Pro Fubby has now gone fastest. He sits in provisional pole and the rain has stopped. The sun is just beaming at the moment. Whether or not this track is going to dry out, we'll have to wait and see. 8 minutes remaining of the session, but Pro Fubby, currently sat in pole position, looks as though he's going to stay out for another hot lap. The console meanwhile has come in into the pits. Wadge is currently sat in third place, but he's still out on track. Looks as though that is going to be an abandoned lap from Pro Fubby, and looks as though the console, just see that pink actual vision heading out of the pits. Let's join him as he is tailing behind one of the ledges. Not sure whether or not it's big or little ledge. We'll try and get a better view of the either mirrors or the number as we track the console around for this wet lap. Essex Flat Pack currently in 4th place. Lecky, who was in 5th, but Jack de Menzies has just popped up. 5th place for him, 7/10 away from Pro Fubby at the moment. But he's managed to get himself on 3rd row so far, and there is a little bit of improvement to be made there, I am sure. Jack de Menzies tries to make his presence known, and I know he's really rooting deep to try and challenge the console for the championship this season. I think it's just unfortunate for our social media manager that he's joined with some pretty talented touring car drivers this season. All of them gunning for the console, I'm sure. 246 Dyson's doing very well. We saw him struggling earlier on in the qualifying session. He's managed to get himself up to 7th place now. So he's getting to grips with that number 66 SRT Motorsport Renault Megane, and might well see some improvement on him as well. So the console comes across the line. It is a cold lap, but we'll see what materialises. That looks as though it's Kovkar just heading out on the laps trying to make some improvements. And can't see a dry line as of yet. Let's jump into the cockpit of the console, try and see whether or not we can spot any dry lines forming up on the circuit. And a very good evening to everybody that's watching on the stream. Let me know who you're rooting for. Oh, as we see the console there making a mistake. It looks as though we just caught too much of the curb. It looks as though we've got Flatpack getting in some support from Sally Dalton. Good to see you this evening, Sally. And gotta say, I'm expecting big things from Essex Flatpack today. I know I've seen him in a touring car. He certainly has got a lot of skill, and you can just see there the dovetails off the back of the car and see some dry spots forming on the track. Unfortunately, because of the undulating layout of the Snetterton circuit, it looks as though we've not got a fully dry line, but we have got forecasted rain for the race, and if this is anything to go by, we may well have dry lines forming up come the end. Not sure whether or not we're going to see any pits for tyres, whether or not we're going to have to switch from the wets to the dries, but we will wait and see. And it looks as though that message from Sally is egging on Essex Flatpack at the moment. Finds himself 6/10 quicker. He may well be on. In fact, he's got purple sector 1. His sector 2 time is also looking pretty tasty as well. This could well be a provisional pole lap from Essex Flatpack if he manages to bring it on home. Across the line, it's going to be an improvement, and it is enough for provisional pole. He's got 1/10 in it at the moment. Pro Fubby jumps down into second place, and let's have a look, see whether or not Pro Fubby's got any response as he approaches Montreal here. So that is Pro Fubby in the yellow and green emoji. That is also Al Axon in the number 12 air bubbles car. Looks as though there's been a mistake there from Pro Fubby. He allows Al Axon to go through. Let's have a look at Al at the moment. Not qualifying quite as well as we used to see him from him, but there's still a bit of time. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining inside this qualification session. Does look as though that was Essex Flatpack abandoning the lap at the end, and the console was answered immediately. So looks as though this is really starting to dry out as we see Al Axon there getting all sorts of messy. Managed to keep it together, which was impressive enough after a couple of bunny hops and a bit of a tail slide. That's more than a tank slapper, I'm pretty sure, but he's kept it on the track. Might have even got some extra heat into those tyres, and this could be a hot one. No, it comes into the pits, spoke too soon. So with 3 minutes remaining, any drivers that are currently inside the pits are going to have to try and get themselves out as soon as possible. Look over to Pro Fubby, because Pro Fubby is going to be absolutely fuming that he's found himself 4th place on the second row at the moment, especially after such a strong qualification session so far. You can see though, dry lines are definitely forming on this one, so it's looking like we're going to have partially dry sections during the race. Going to make it very interesting indeed. Let me know who your predictive winners are, and there we go, look at that. He's got 3/10 just in the first sector. He has gone purple by quite a margin there, Pro Fubby. Immediately trying to look for answers to both the console and Essex Flatpack. If any of those people are joining us for the first time, welcome very much to Flux Motorsport. We try and bring you the most realistic sim racing championships that we can on the PlayStation 4, currently on Project Cars 2. But who knows what the future will bring. If you're interested in this or you want to know some more, then head on over to www.fluxmotorsport.com. You'll be able to join up on our Discord or check out all of the information on the website. Also, just as a bit of news, the website is currently going through a bit of a renovation, so we'll be prepping you for the launch. Meanwhile, though, Pro Fubby has just gone provisional pole by quite some margin. I expect that we're going to see the console flying out of the pits as soon as possible. Found himself almost half a second back, so this track is definitely picking up in pace, and it's going to be a very exciting final minute and a half, I believe. Let's have a look at somebody that is already out on a hot lap actually. I think Lecky is just coming to the end of his out lap here, so this one's going to be a hot one. See whether or not he can make some improvements. Lecky quite often leaves it very late in the game, always comes up trumps though, so let's see what he's got in this final lap of the session here. Whether or not he strives under pressure or he's just too busy checking out the opposition, I'm not too sure, but he quite often comes up with the goods very, very late on. And it's looking pretty good as well. He's not gone purple in sector 1, but he's only about 3/10 away from that fastest lap time. See large improvements from the screen. I think it was around about 8/10 there. Comes under the bridge. Just heading up through Brundle and Nelson. Let's fling it around Bombhole now and keep an eye out. Please don't mistake my northern accent, by the way. I am saying Bombhole. Remember, this is an RAF, or former RAF airbase, hence some of the names that go around, specifically the large Snetterton 300 circuit. Let's have a look what Lecky's got though here. He was still about 8 tenths up. It should be enough for a top 5 finish. He's just managed to sneak into the top 4. See whether or not he can keep it. Jack Demenzies is going to be his closest competition with that. We've got SX Flatpack, J46 Dyson, 74 Leggy, Al Axon and Kovkar in the pits. DJ Leggy is still out, but everybody underneath is currently sat in the pit, so not many people can make an impact. Looks as though the console's gone off, and that's going to be a second row finish for the console. Fly over to Jack Demenzies in that number 4 Zavima. He comes around, looks as though he made a mistake on the very last corner. That's going to invalidate it, so he's going to have to start in 6th place. Look at Profubby. Profubby looks as though he's pretty much parked it up. There's Wadge on for a hot lap. Doesn't look as though there's any improvements being made, so I think that is pretty much going to be our turnout for this evening's grid. DJ Leggy may be able to make some impact. Let's take the camera over to him. Still out on a hot lap. He's quite a bit off the front runners, but let's see whether or not he can get in and amongst Kovkar or maybe leapfrog over Al Axon. Comes across the line. I don't think it was an improvement in the end, so here is your lineup for this evening's race. Out on pole position and therefore getting the bonus point is Profubby, and what a time it was as well. However, don't take anything away from Wadge. Finds himself less than 1/10 away from Profubby, so really looking to continue his strong impact here in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. The console makes a very late mistake, finds himself on the 2nd row in 3rd place, followed by Lecky 2000 in 4th. So last week's top 4 is featured in this race's top 4, just in a bit of a different order. Essex Flatpack comes in as a reserve driver, finds himself in 5th position with Jack Demenzies alongside. J46 Dyson made a recovery in the end. The second half of the session was very well for him. Finds himself in 7th place with Older Leggy out in 8th. All U82 aka Al Axon in 9th place, followed by Kovkar. Then DJ Leggy or Little Ledge in 11th place with Old Smoky alongside. Then it's Casey Redwood followed by Porsche Man and Green Gaming making up the back of the grid. So, as ever, 2 minutes worth of setup time is definitely going to be required. Setups are going to be key here, especially in the race strategy. As I retire from the race, head on out to the grid. Let's just remind you of the liveries for this evening's race. Profubby in the Emochi, Wadge in that number 25 Hakeem with the console in the very distinctive number 8 Actual Vision, Lecky in the Forever Lecky Momo Racing, Essex Flatpack in the number 17 4C Motorsports, and Jack Demenzies in the number 4 Zavima. J46 Dyson in the number 66 SRT Racing, and Senior Ledge 074 Leggy in the number 67 IBAC with all U82 in the number 12 Air Bubbles. Kovkar in the also distinctive 20 PCCF, and then DJ Leggy with the yellow mirrors in the number 68 IBAC Racing. Old Smoky finds himself in number 7 in the green Actual Vision livery with Casey Redwood in the Hakeem Motorsport. Porsche Man finds himself in the, just trying to check it, it is the number 53 Cavil Motorsports, and then Green Gaming in the Monster Energy number 87. So there's your grid, 42 seconds worth of tinker time remaining. As you can see, the track is currently raining. As mentioned before, the rain is due to head off at some point during this race. So we may well be finishing up dry, but check out the track temperatures. 50 degrees Fahrenheit, not too warm at all. Here we are, ready for the lights at the Snetterton 200, race 2 of the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. All eyes into turn 1. And away we go, spinning up the front wheels. Looks as though a bit of a dodgy start there from Profubby, and that's given the console an immediate advantage. Also, Lecky's having a little look as well. Inside lines are being taken. This is where it all sort of matters. We follow the cars around turn 1. Looks as though most cars are away pretty cleanly. Let's get back up to the front. Profubby's managed to hold on to first place. And diving right into Montreal. Still, all cars out on track. Nobody losing too much time. I think everybody keeping it on the straight and narrow. Green Gaming may have had a mishap. He finds himself about 4 seconds back currently my on-game race telemetry on the left-hand side is currently not working. So apologies for that. I do have telemetry on here though. All the rest of the cars very, very close together indeed. Oh, Lecky catches on the sausage, and that almost flings him off onto the left-hand side. It has put him under increased pressure from Wadge, and Wadge now moves forward. Lecky is on the dirt and he's going to struggle to try and get back on track. Looks as though he's going to slot in just behind Essex Flatpack, and Lecky having a bit of a mare on this opening lap here. You can see how hard the visibility is going to be for these drivers. Looks as though Green Gaming now finds himself 10 seconds back. Casey Redwood and Porsche Man also in a little bit of bother as well, it seems. And a bit of support coming in for Flatpack. He's definitely feeling the love tonight as we see Tibby on here. Tibby unable to make it, currently studying at home, but glad that he can tune in to check out this race. Also Martin Smith rooting for Pro Fubby, predicting that it's going to be a good race. I'm sure it is, Martin. And Pro Fubby is doing all he can to keep that gap above the console here. It's going to be a bit of a game of chess. You need to keep yourself on the straight and narrow, take as little risk as you can, but also make sure that you don't come under too much pressure from the cars behind. You see gaps starting to form up now between these. We've got 3 seconds between 7th place and 1st place. You see a little move there up the inside from the console, a little bit of a love bump, I think. The console a little bit sneaky, I suspect, but let's jump on board with Essex Flatpack and get a good idea of what he can currently see as we get a train going on from 1st and 4th place. You can see how tough the visibility is. Essex Flatpack not with his wipers on at the moment, so we'll jump back again trackside. Looks as though Lecky's found himself potentially into the pits, or maybe just had a bit of a spin, I wonder. So Pro Fubby leads the race, the console in 2nd place, but not too far away, definitely within touching distance. In fact, he's just made it up there on Riches, and it's still going on, this battle. Pro Fubby and the console duking it out very early on here, quite a few risks being taken, and Wags is just waiting in the wings trying to sweep up, it seems. As they go almost 3 wide into the break, it looks as though Wags has got that one spot on. He moves up into 1st place, the console in 2nd. Pro Fubby now down into 3rd place with Essex Flatpack putting on the pressure here. What a fantastic race we've got lined up. I mean, it's door-to-door action here in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. This Snetterton 200 looks like it's going to be delivering the goods this evening. So Wags in 1st place, the console in 2nd, Pro Fubby in 3rd, Essex Flatpack in 4th. Jack de Menzies is not too far away. You can just see him in the background there in that green Zavima. He's trying to make sure that he keeps in touching distance of Essex Flatpack. Who's we've got behind him? It's J46 Dyson, who's continuing a pretty good run all U82. Al Action has moved up a couple of places, and DJ Leggy has gotten the better of his father so far. Currently sat in 8th place, Kovkal in 9th, and 74 Leggy in 10th. Porsche Man has made some improvement from his qualifying in 11th place, with Old Smokey in 12th, Casey Redwood in 13th place, in Green Gaming currently sitting above Lecky, who is in the pits. It looks as though he's in for some pretty extensive damage repairs. I'm not sure if there's going to be a steward's inquiry, but I suspect he might have just lost it on the end of lap 1, maybe caught a bit of a barrier, or maybe caught some suspension damage when he hit that sausage curve in turn 4, I think it was. So Wags continues to lead. Looks as though these guys have steadied themselves out. I think they're quite happy, not taking any risks with full 40 minutes left to go in this race. Let's have a look at what's going on in this battle down for 7th place at the moment. In fact, sorry, it's a battle for 6th. It's J46 Dyson and Al Axon at the moment. J46 Dyson in that yellow, red and black SRT. Al Axon in the number 12 air bubbles. Lecky's now out of the pits, by the way. He finds himself 1 minute and 43 seconds away from the leader, and quite a task ahead of him now to try and make up some positions. However, the chances of there being an accident in today's race is pretty likely, so may well find himself an opportunity. There could also be some window of opportunity as well with drivers coming in for tyres, depending on how well these wets last through this rather punishing Snetterton 200 circuit. Looks as though Alex in there's got a really good draft. He's not been able to make it last, but definitely made up some space there on Dyson. Let's jump back over to our leaders. Looks as though we've got the console trying to make the move at the moment on Wads. Let's jump into the cockpit of the console. Look how close he's getting on that final corner. He'll try and get as much of a drive as he can around this second longest straight. The longest straight obviously the Bentley, but this start finish is another good opportunity to try and get a good exit out of Murray's corner, the final corner, and try and make a move up into turn 1. So this line of 4 cars really evenly matched here. Essex Flat Pack just 1.2 seconds away from the leader at the moment, with 2 cars ahead of him before that lead car. I've got a feeling that these guys are going to be just waiting in the wings. As soon as a mistake is made, there's going to be a whole mix-up in track positions for sure. But it is Wads with the upper hand at the moment. Looks as though Pro Fubby was just having a little look up the inside there. Wonder whether or not he could get on late on the brakes, but it would have been a bold move up the inside of that one. You do leave yourself around the outside, but not much track, with the rest of the drivers taking the traditional racing line. Anybody loses the rear end or perhaps knocks up the wheels, you're going to be getting caught in a rather large accident. So maybe Pro Fubby just racing smart rather than hard for this time being. A little look further down the order. Looks as though DJ Ledger has got Kovkar on his back at the moment. That is Kovkar in that number 20 PCCF. We just saw, I think it was J46 Dyson getting a whole lot of that sausage curve on the final corner coming out of Murray's. DJ Ledger, after quite a disappointing qualification, looks as though he's settled right into this race. Currently running 8th position, and he's holding off Kovkar so far in that IBAC BMW. Of course, for this season, only 3 cars opting for the BMWs. We've got both of the Leggies in the IBAC Motorsport BMWs, and also Tibby, who sadly can't make it this evening, also opting for the Beamer. Let's jump back over, see what's going on at the front of the screen. In fact, let's have a little look what's going a little bit further down the running order. We've got Old Smokey at the moment in that number 7 green Natural Vision. That is Casey Redwood that you see behind him in Porsche Man. So it looks as though we've got almost 3 very evenly matched groups forming up within the touring car, at least around this Snetterton 200 circuit in the wet. We've got Wads, the console, Pro Fubby, Essex Flat Pack, and Jack de Menzies. I'd also include Lecky inside that pack as well, all very evenly matched. Then J46 Dyson, Alex and DJ Ledgy, Kovkar and 74 Ledgy, all within a certain group, and then Old Smokey, Casey Redwood, Porsche Man and Green Gaming, maybe just a little bit on the outside of that one, but he did make a mistake very early on in this race, found himself back about 10 seconds coming out of sector 2. So just having a look at the sector times from the rest of them, it looks as though Casey Redwood is actually going to make his fastest lap through this one. Old Smokey's gone quicker as well and made up a fair bit of time on that last lap. Meanwhile, the front runners are actually running all very even sector times indeed. Just to give you some perspective, sector 1, which they've just completed, we've got Wadge in first position on 24.823, the console 24.905, Pro Fubby 24.945, and the Essex Flat Pack 24.840. So all of them within about 15 tenths of one another. Really close sector times from all 4 drivers, and it shows currently within the gaps between all 4 of them. I think Sally Dalton's heart rate and blood pressure is raising the temperatures in a very cold Southend-on-Sea at the moment. She's rooting for Essex Flat Pack, and he's looking good so far, Sally. I wouldn't worry too much. Looks as though he's definitely holding his own against these regular FMTCC drivers. And you can see the gap now between the rear of Essex Flat Pack and Jack Demenzies is now opening right up. Jack Demenzies just struggling to try and keep on, but he's in completely clear air. So Jack Demenzies can sort of take his time a little bit now, try and drag those tyres out as much as possible, try and get the jump on them. As we see, looked as though the console there had so much overspeed compared to Raj. Just from the end of that straight, he needs that straight to be about 200 yards longer, and he might just have him onto the inside, but it's going to take a very risky move to try and make it under braking, as I mentioned earlier with Pro Fubby. So Essex Flat Pack's actually gone green in Sector 1 this time around, running quicker than the rest of them. I think his Sector 2 is also quicker as well. Let's jump. In fact, we won't jump on board because he hasn't got his wipers on, but let's continue to follow Essex Flat Pack around. Let's see if that gap can get noticeably shorter. He has just set his fastest lap of the race so far, Essex Flat Pack, 1 minute 16.799. Also, DJ Leggy setting his fastest lap last time around, as has Old Smoky, as has Green Gaming. So quite a few drivers in multiple places within the grid. Currently starting to find their flow with this circuit a little bit, it seems, and it looks as though the weather is just starting to ease off. I'm still seeing spots of rain over certain parts of the circuit, but when we get the right sort of view, have a look at those cloud covers. It does look as though the grey skies are just starting to lift away and we're about to get some sunshine here. You can also see the track temperature just lifting up. So light cloud, but no rain falling down, it seems, on the second sector of this circuit. Just little spots on the camera, but not sure whether or not. In fact, it's definitely still raining over in Sector 3, so maybe I've preempted that a little bit too early, but it's coming soon, ladies and gents. This rain will ease off and this track is going to get quicker and quicker. 32 minutes of the race remaining, so I do expect people to be coming in for dry tyres at some point. The race strategy is certainly going to have to be a key factor in taking the victory here today. So for anyone that's joining us for the first time, very warm welcome to Flux Motorsport TV for this second round of the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. If you want to check out all of the races that we have to offer, then be sure to hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss a single thing. Also, if you have missed any of the championship races from either this season or our previous seasons in 2020, then remember that you can just head on over to our homepage on the YouTube channel and you'll be able to catch them all live and direct from there. And if you missed me giving the summary, don't forget you can join Lucky 2 Cars on Thursday live, 8 o'clock UK time, 3 PM in the afternoon over in the Eastern Standard Time for our American viewers. And that's going to be a pretty tough circuit this week around the Indianapolis Road Circuit. Looks as though Big Al is joining us on the screen, of course, always rooting for the console. Biscuits at the ready, should he manage to get that first position, but he's got his work cut out. He finds himself just shy of a second back from Wags. These front four cars now just starting to find bits of gaps here and there. However, looks as though Essex Flat Pack is really starting to pile the pressure on Pro Fubby. Just had a little look there up Montreal, I think. And he's really hanging on to the back, just gets forced wide a little bit, hopefully going to keep it on and joins without losing too much time, it seems. That is the danger of close quarter racing on a very wet and rather hazardous track, even in dry conditions. Oh, looks as though we've got a bit more action going on back here. We're just going to flip on over to 7th place at the moment. Cocktail's being chased down by Al Axon. DJ Leggy is not too far away as well in that BMW, and you can also see DJ Leggy right behind him. Looks like Al Axon just trying to make the moves on Cocktail, just having another little look around the inside, see whether or not he can get his car up on the inside to try and take that one, but look at the puddles still present on the inside of that curb. That isn't on the racing line anyway, but still one that you want to avoid just in case you do make any mistakes. And oh, it's a big mistake there from Dyson. Ends up going off the circuit. Manages to get himself back on, but he's going to have lost a lot of momentum. And how many places is he going to lose? Looks as though DJ Leggy is going to try and go around the outside here. Is he going to hold on to it? Al Axon hanging right up onto the tailgate there. Looks as though DJ Leggy has made the move work on J46 Dyson, as has Al Axon, so he loses 3 places from that mistake coming out of Murray's. And he's fuming about that. He's also under a bit of pressure now from 74 Leggy as well, the more senior of the 2 Leggy family. I've not seen a picture of them, perhaps they do look like brothers, I'm sure they do. Please excuse the rudeness of me referring into senior or older Leggy, but it is a father and son combo. It's the easiest way for me to distinguish them. While still leading this race, the console in 2nd place, 1.6 seconds behind him. You see a mistake there from J46 Dyson. That has now given 74 Leggy 9th position. And J46 Dyson just needs to get his head straight if he wants to try and finish in the position that he's held for so long in this race as well. Track is now, the track conditions are now dry. The actual track itself is still sopping wet in places, so it's not going to be time for dry tyres anytime soon. We'll have to keep on forming up, drying out the track. You can see big puddles still present all over the place. So back over to our race leader with lads in the number 25 for eMotorsports. Currently got just shy of a second on the console as he comes out through Brundle around Nelson. Looks as though on the end of the Bentley straight, the console's able to make up quite a bit of time, and then through that little complex of Brundle and Nelson, and even on the exit of Bombhole, White is able to make up. It looks to be about 2 or 3 tenths, so obviously a little bit neater through the corners. The console got plenty of straight line speed. Let's have a look over to the battle for 3rd place. Essex Flat Pack currently sat in 3rd. Pro Fubby still piling on the pressure to try and take back that podium position. See both of them really chucking it into to turn 1. So we get onto the brakes for Montreal. Both of them braking almost simultaneously. Looks as though Essex Flat Pack running a little bit deep, just maybe outbraking himself ever so slightly, and that gives Pro Fubby now 3rd position. Great move from Pro Fubby. Really clean overtake there, just dived up the inside with plenty of confidence. And Essex Flat Pack needs to work hard to try and take back that 3rd position. A little bit further down the running order, let's have a look at OU82 Al Axon and his attempt at trying to take on 74 Leggy. Looks as though they've missed a bit of action through this, so 74 Leggy has moved up into 8th position. Looks as though Al Axon lost out on a place. So Codcarl remains in 6th. He's under increased pressure as well from DJ Leggy. How that Beamer goes through this selection of right-handers. Come through Bombhole into Karan, and then hard into the brakes on Murray's. Looks really well composed actually, the BMW. I was expecting that it was going to be a little bit too tail happy, but looks as though they've got the setup dialed right in. Both the Legends, of course, struggling a little bit to what they're used to seeing from them in last week's race at COTA National, and this looks like a move up the inside from DJ Leggy. Couldn't make it stick. Looked as though his inside line forced him to get earlier onto the brakes, and maybe just trying to unsettle Cofcarl. However, Cofcarl, absolute seasoned vet in the touring cars, has been racing with us for a number of seasons, even in the pre-Flux Motorsport days, so he can really handle these touring cars. And it looks as though he's going to come under pressure now up the inside as we come down the Bentley straight. That BMW looks as though it's got the move working for it as we break down into Brundle, and it has indeed. So DJ Leggy moving up the positions now, slowly gaining some places and looks to be a pretty good finish here. He finds himself 21 seconds away from the leaders, but that is around about 12 seconds away from the rear of Jack Menzies, who's currently in 5th. Looks as though the console in for a pit stop. Is he coming in for dries? Can't tell whether or not there's been a tyre change. We'll try and have a look as he gets back out on track. I can hear tyre guns going off, and it looks as though Lecky is also into the pits, potentially going out for some dry tyres as well. Maybe it was his tyre guns that we heard. So this could be an inspired move from Lecky. And yeah, bit of confirmation there from the console. Come on for some new shoes. And let's see what he can make of these. He's obviously feeling that there's enough of a dry line and expects some really quick lap times. Just trying to find the fastest lap so far from the console. It's a 1 minute 16.327. Wadge is currently the fastest lap holder with a 1:16.210. Let's see what happens with this one. The track is only going to get drier from here on in, but it's whether or not they've made the move ever so slightly too early. Jump over to this action between Alex and the 74 Leggy. DJ Leggy has moved up a position since the console came into the pits. So these are now battling for 7th and 8th position. And for those of you that haven't done so yet, be sure to follow Flux Motorsport on all of our social media channels to make sure that you keep involved in all of the action, news and reports from all of our championships. You'll be able to find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And as well, if you'd like to try and donate to help support the great content and prizes to help this community, one of the best around, then you can do so by going over to our website www.fluxmotorsport.com, and you'll be able to find the donate button on there. We do appreciate everything that you do donate to us. Of course, we are a community interest company, so everything that we get does get pumped right back into the community that it supports. Also helps us to provide the very best streams for you, the viewers. With that shameless plug out of the way, let's have a look what's going on a little bit further back here. Looks as though Casey Redwood has made it up into 9th place. This will be a really good finish from Casey Redwood. He's had a disappointing couple of seasons. He's a really accomplished GT Sport driver. However, he is under a lot of pressure from Old Smoky at the moment. I've got to say, from the amount of puddles that I can see out on track at the moment, I'm really surprised to see dry tyres going on. Just having a look at the console's last lap time. Don't think he's come across the line yet, but maybe he has. His last lap was a 1 minute 23.230. Yeah, that'll be with his outlap as well from the pit. So let's look over to him. Let's see how he's doing on those dry tyres. I only assume that when he confirmed that he'd come on for some new tyres, that they were actually dry tyres that he's come on for. Oh, he definitely looks it as well. You can see the front end just trying to get away from him there. Last lap time was a 1:18.362, so maybe he's just preempting the fact that this track is starting to dry out. Ooh, catches a whole lot of the sausage there out through Montreal, and did really well to hold it. He was riding a bicycle for a certain amount of time. Gets back onto 4 wheels, not too much time lost, hopefully no suspension damage from that one. Meanwhile, looks as though since the console's come in, we've got a big sort of gap forming up. Well, it was always going to happen actually, beg your pardon, from Wadge and the console as they came in. Both will be now 7.5 seconds away from the current race leader. Essex Flatpack still within touching distance. He's sat around about, I've just clicked off my telemetry screen, but around about 1.5 seconds it seems away from the back of Profubby at the moment. Yeah, currently the live gap between Profubby and Essex Flatpack 1.5 seconds, so definitely still within touching distance. The Console finds himself 11 seconds away from traffic at the moment. I'm keeping a keen eye on his lap times at the moment. It does look as though that last lap has gone a little bit slower, but we did see him catch that massive curb around Montreal, so it is to be expected. So Wad's the current race leader. Let's keep an eye out on him. Of course, there isn't too much action going in and around track. We have got a bit going on between Casey Redwood and Old Smoky, but both drivers look as though they're pretty evenly matched. So let's have a look at how he's dealing with the car live from the onboard footage. Still doesn't look perfectly dry, that line. You can see little spits and spats of puddles coming around. Let's have a look what it's like through Brundle and Nelson. Even the race leader just struggling to keep it together through that rather tricky complex. Coming out through Bomball, and it looks as though he's able to put that power down still. I just wonder whether or not these wet tyres are starting to wear off a little bit. The console's lap times are now starting to come in. 117.922. It's quite a bit off his fastest lap so far, but they are starting to come down. So let's just have a look at him now as he begins a new lap. Let's see whether or not he's still a little bit loose throughout this first sector. Just here, the revs spinning up as his tyres spin around through those puddles. Really tricky to navigate them. You've got a couple of options really when you've got puddles on the straight like that. You can either try and weave to avoid them, but looks as though we've got puddles formed on the left and the right, and he gets really loose on the entry to Brundle. Looks as though Lecky's had a mishap as well, actually. So that was Lecky's Momo car that we saw coming round. Whoa, huge tail slide there from the console. And I think maybe these boys came in for dry tyres a little bit too early. Track temperatures are pretty low, but maybe they'll be able to reap the rewards from this come the end of the race. It does look as though Essex Flatpack just got very close to the back of Pro Fobby and then just fell away from it, so either that was just a bit of a blip on the timing screens, or maybe he's just made a little bit of a mistake there. That does look pretty even. Still sits at around about 1.5 seconds though, so I think we're going to see it shrinking and growing depending on which sectors they're currently getting the better of each other on. Does look as though Essex Flatpack did lose around about half a second, just shy of half a second anyway, in sector 2 that last lap around. Yeah, it looks as though Essex Flatpack has got the better in sector 1. Pro Fubby a little bit handier in sector 2, and then sector 3 they're separated by hundredths of a second. Meanwhile, Wadge in first place has just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's just set a purple sector time in sector 1. Let's have a look as he takes that Akeen around. It looks as though he's absolutely flying. Sector 2 has fallen away a little bit, but it's still pretty damn quick. I think this is going to be another improvement on his previous fastest lap. Casey Redwood and Old Smoky still duking it out. Looks as though Old Smoky got the better of Casey Redwood, and it's just whether or not he's going to hold on to it in the final 15 minutes of this race. Looks as though we've had our first retirement as well. J46 Dyson unable to complete the race for the second time in a row. He also struggled at COTA National as well. Unfortunate for the Scotsman. Matt Wedge, meanwhile, is absolutely hooning this one. He's now got 9.6 seconds lead to Pro Fubby, which sounds like a lot. In fact, it is a lot, especially when you consider how close these are. You see there, Lecky once again struggling through the Brundle Nelson complex, and that's the second time in a few laps. So Lecky's even going from bad to worse. Don't forget, he's currently second in the championship, so this is really going to sting. and unfortunately had to bow out of last season's FMTCC, so he's looking to try and make this season his season. I think this one may be a bit of a write-off. He has got a little bit of a bonus point though with the retirement from J46 Dyson, so that's going to stand him in good stead. So lap 25 of this Snetterton 200, that is Lecky 2000 that we see just ahead in final place. So Wadge is just about to approach. Looks as though Lecky, you see there the lights flashing, just allowing him clean passage under blue flag conditions. Doesn't want to risk taking out the leader, so he knows that he's got plenty of gap ahead of him. It can warrant a bit of a slowdown and moving well clear off the track. Look what the console's doing. Looked as though his strategy got a little bit wrong and it's cost him. And oh, as he loses it there on Nelson, just manages to keep it together when it comes up to the bomb hole. And yeah, the console really struggling. He was fastest actually. He set a purple in sector 1, so maybe I'm writing him off too early. Maybe he's starting to make these dry tyres work for him. Hear him though. Every time he hits one of those puddles, you see you can hear the revs just shoot right up as his wheels spin. He's not going to be able to avoid them either. The last thing you want to be doing on a greasy circuit like this is chucking the car left to right on a straight. So you never know when it's going to chew you up and spit you out. You see their opposite lock into turn 1 just to try and keep it together, and they're bouncing it off the limiter as well just to try and keep traction. That's the beauty of these front wheel drive car touring cars. The BMWs obviously don't have that luxury of just being able to plant that right foot into the go louder pedal and trying to catch the traction. Let's jump back onto this battle for second place though. Pro Fubby under growing pressure into Montreal there from Essex Flat Pack. We did see Pro Fubby take second position from Essex Flat Pack a number of laps ago on that Montreal corner. And it did look as though he was just trying to play him at his own game there. Not quite making it work this time around, but keep your eye out for him. Essex Flat Pack has actually set his fastest lap that last time around, 1:15.865, only 2/10 off the current race leader. Meanwhile, Pro Fubby with a 1:16.660, so 8/10 in it that last lap around. Minutes and 46 minutes remaining. Whilst I've got a bit of a lineup, let me just run you through the standings from last week, just in case you missed it. Console is currently sat in first position. However, that might all have changed. In fact, it's definitely going to change if he doesn't manage to make a miracle happen in this final 11.5 minutes. Lecky 2000 was in second. It looks as though that's also going to be a dramatic change as well. Pro Fubby is in third in the championship. So he's going to see a pretty strong progression into race 3 of our 8-race season here in season 1. Wadge is going to see another large improvement. In fact, Wadge might well go first in the championship if he manages to get the bonus point as well for fastest lap. Alex was in 5th position. Alex currently running in 8th position. Oh, somebody getting really messy there. Not too sure who that was. It looked as though, have a look, it's a yellow. I'm trying to think who it could have been. It could be the SRT. No, unfortunately, that would have been Dyson, who's since retired. Not too sure who else it could have been that was losing it. Either way, Jack Dementi's in 6th position, Kafkar 7th, 074 Leggy in 8th place, followed by Green Gaming, who's not been able to put up quite the performance as he did last week. He's currently in 12th position though, so he is still going to get a fair whack of the points. Meanwhile, ladies and gents, whilst I've been talking and gibbering on, the console has gone fastest in Sector 1 with a 23.719. That is about 3 or 4 tenths quicker than anybody else. And in fact, it's just being beaten by Lecky 2000, so perhaps now, with this track just drying out, now is the time for those dry tyres. We'll wait and see. They've got almost a minute to make up, at least the console, as Lecky's got a number 12 minutes to make up, but let's see what the console can do in this final 9.5 minutes. Potentially came in just a little bit too early, but we've still got a massive battle going on here for the top three. Wags just needs to keep it on the straight and narrow, pointing in the right direction. It doesn't look as though he's being fazed by anything during this race. So that looks like a pretty secure position. Meanwhile, this battle between Profubby and Essex Flatpack has been epic throughout. Essex Flatpack just losing touch ever so slightly. He finds himself almost 2 seconds away from the rear of Profubby at the moment, but all it takes is for somebody to spin up the wheels, maybe lose the front or back end, overbrake themselves or catch one of those sleeping policemen, and that 1.8 seconds can quickly become 0. So the console is just about to approach the rear of Casey Redwood. He finds himself 5 seconds away from the back of them at the moment. He has set the fastest lap of the race though, 1:15.437 from the console, faster than anybody else, so he is looking for bonus points here, and may well be able to make up a couple of places, because if you have a look down, Casey Redwood's next in line for the console for 10th place. Also, Old Smoky not too far away from him. Alex might just be in touching distance as well if the console continued to go 2 seconds a lap quicker. Have to wait and see. These are short circuits around the Snetterton 200, so it's certainly possible. Don't think we're going to see any better than an 8th place finish at best though from the console, so still a pretty shock result from somebody that was running very, very well indeed. Essex Flatpack meanwhile, obviously being spurred on by both my words and Sally's, he's now found himself right up onto the back. Unfortunately, my telemetry systems have knocked down, so I'm going to have to go for the quick maths, but he's half a second away at the moment from the back of Profubby. Certainly within reach, Lecky's day goes from bad to worse. Could just see a Momo there parked up on the other side. Looks as though we've got flashes of the light, so that suggests that we've got a yeah, it is the back marker of all your 82, it seems. They have to run really wide. Yeah, avoids both cars there. Heart was in mouth for a second, but the experienced driver of Alaxon knew exactly what he was doing. Just held it up on the grass. I can imagine that there were twitchy bums in both 2nd and 3rd place though, just in case. So Profubby 2nd place, Essex Flatpack in 3rd, but the driver of the day has got to be Wadge really. His real name's Josh, by the way. I later found it out, but for the purposes of this season, he's going to be Wadge. He's got no problem with it, so I'm going to keep referring to him as Wadge. He's an epic drive, really. 1st place in the very early stages, and he's just held off what was a 4-car train for the large majority of this race. Things got a little bit mixed up when the console came in for tyres, and also we saw a couple of mistakes from Profubby and Essex Flatpack as well. We have seen some epic overtakes as well. I think the overtake of the day is possibly that overtake from West to take 1st place, but we have seen really good moves from Profubby to take hold of 2nd. It's whether or not he's going to be able to hold on to it for the final 5 minutes. Look at the fastest lap so far. Just swiping through to try and bring up the lap time. Yeah, my telemetry system is still crashed unfortunately, so I'm not going to be able to get it until we get to the end screen. Let's have a look at the timing boards though. 1 second penalty from Profubby, so that's going to give Essex Flatpack a bit of a chance. That will be added on at the end of the race, and he's currently half a second away, so if Essex Flatpack can keep this gap the same, he's going to finish up in 2nd place here on his 1st race out in the FMTCC. Have a look at some of these battles going on at the back. We'll keep our eyes peeled for this battle for 2nd place, but it looks as though Casey Redwood has now got the console's pink actual vision running up right behind. can see the difference in the lap times there. The console last lap around a 1:15.552, Casey Redwood 1:17.298. Should be easy pickings for him as Casey Redwood gets a bit messy there on the exit of Murray's. However, because of the correction by the console, he ends up making it real tricky to try and get past him. Does look as though he's got that move done. 10th place for the console now. He's also got Old Smoky next up. Let's jump on board in the cockpit of the console. That is Old Smoky ahead in his teammates' rear natural vision. And looking him right up onto the back of the car. Might well be able to out-drag him here on the Bentley straight with trackside and try and see whether or not this move's going to be an easy one for him. Whether or not he's going to have to work hard for it. I think he's actually going to hold off when he gets through the Bundy Nelson complex and try and get the drive out through Bomb Hole to make that one stick. Those drivers getting a little bit sideways through there. The console even more so, so that's going to scrub off a little bit of his momentum and give the upper hand to Old Smoky. Just because the teammates doesn't mean that there's going to be any form of team orders here. Old Smoky's going for points, however, and look at that drive that the console's got. He goes around the outside, he's got the long way round, looks for a little bit of a cutback and just manages to keep the car together. Looked as though that Venom again wanted to snap away from him here. See him opting for the inside line here, the console, and not sure whether or not he's going to get the drive. He's going to have to do it all under braking. It's going to be pretty brave on the approach to Riches. A little bit of contact there, not too much, and he's got that move done. Is he going to be able to hold on to it into Montreal? Does look as though he has. That is that position made up. Oh, when you see the car wanting to high side him there, so the console gets all of that curb. That's going to be a real messy exit, probably a slowdown penalty as well from the console, as he allows Old Smoky to return into 9th place. He's actually going to come under pressure from Casey Redwood now as well. Meanwhile, up at the front, Pro Fubby in 2nd place, with Essex Flatpack still chasing down. There's still around about half a second between it. Remember, folks, that Pro Fubby has got a 1 second penalty applied the last time that I checked. And it is still 1 second. In fact, look at that, the console with a 20-second penalty. I hadn't noticed that. Oh, that is going to sting indeed. That's going to see the console retain its position in 11th place, I think. And that is probably going to be for speeding in the pit lane with such a large penalty. It could well be down to a track limit violation. If so, if it wasn't warranted, he may be able to get that scrubbed off by the stewards, but we'll wait and see as they come in. 1 minute and 41 seconds, and gotta say, Wads has made this one almost look easy. You can just see the console there, still a little bit messy towards the final corner on his way out of Murray's. He's been really struggling with it. I think it's due to the surface water that has remained all the way through this. Track temperatures are pretty low here in Norwich, and we saw plenty of rain in the first third of this race, but ever since then, because of the low track temperature, ambient temperature just hasn't seemed to dry out, as we see the console there just allowing the front runners to pass through under blue flag conditions. Still half a second between Essex Flatpack and Pro Fubby in what has been, a fantastic racing. I don't even think they've come together. Those two cars, every single time of them looks absolutely flawless. So testament to the driving abilities within these touring cars, and I think I called it last week to expect things from Pro Fubby. Unfortunately, I didn't call it before the race started for Wads. What a race it has been. He's got one final lap, I believe. Let's bring up the map and try and see where the race leader is. Yeah, it's just coming across the line now, so this is going to be the final lap of the race, I believe. It might be one more depending, but I think it is going to be the final lap depending on where these drivers are. And as Wads makes his way up and around some back marker traffic, he's got 13.7 seconds to play with. So let's jump back to Pro Fubby in this battle between him and Essex Flatpack. Both making their way through back markers now, and the race is on. The session time is up. This will be the checkered flag for Wads when he comes across the line. And you can see that Essex Flatpack is pushing hard. He needs to be careful. He has got a 1 second gap to try and play with. So long as he sticks to the rear of Pro Fubby, he will get that position. He doesn't want to put himself in any unnecessary risk, which has also picked up a slowdown penalty himself. It does look as though we've got a static car, it seems, on the Bentley straight. Can't see who that was, but just see a blue dot there on the map. Currently parked up about midway down that straight. Get rid of the track map, and it looks as though Essex Flatpack still pushing so hard to try and get that actual track position to take second place. Doesn't look as though he wants to get it on a race penalty. Meanwhile, Wadge comes across the line for the race victory, flawless race from him. Meanwhile, Pro Fubby and Essex Flatpack drag it out for their positions across the line. Essex Flatpack is going to take second place, but Pro Fubby comes across the line ahead of him. Jack Menzies is going to be next. It looks as though he's just coming up to... is that Bentley? No, sorry, he's just come around Murray's for the final time. Great drive from Jack Menzies there to take fourth position. DJ Ledgy, what a drive it's been from him. He's worked his way up all the way. He was out-qualified by his father, which is 074 Ledgy, who actually finishes behind him, but I think he qualified in maybe 10th position, 9th or 10th position. So really good drive from him to get up into 5th. 74 Legend comes across the line in 6th position with Kovkal right behind. Next up it's Al Axon. Despite all of the routing on from the significant other, Al Axon comes across the line in 8th position. Still managing to keep it together, although we may well just lose out on a couple of places. In fact, he's one of the final ones to cross the line. Look at the tyre wear there. No front tyres left whatsoever, so we're driving with nothing come the end of this race. Here are the final positions then. Wags takes out first place, maximum points for the race. Let's have a look at his lap time. 1:15.487. I'm just making a note of that because we're going to have to check with the console. I did see that he had a purple lap time at some point. Essex Flatpack takes second place in the end due to the 1 second penalty picked up by Pro Fubby for track limits. Jack Menzies is in 4th place, followed by the two Ledgies. DJ Ledgy getting the better of his dad this time around the Snetterton circuit. Kovkal in 7th position despite a 1 second penalty, finishes ahead of Al Axon in 8th place. Casey Redwood with a strong finish in 9th position ahead of Old Smoky in the end. The console, despite that 20-second penalty, does finish up in 11th position, 1:15.437 in the end. So just manages to scoop up the fastest lap. So we will get a bonus point applied to that. Green Gaming finishes up in 12th with Pushman in 13th. Lecky sticks it out to the bitter end after a forgettable race. From our GT1 coordinator and commentator, finishes up in 14th, but not finishing last after the retirement from J46 Dyson. And that is all for this week. That is Snetterton 200 in the wet, ladies and gents, and what a spectacle it is. Back-to-back racing, tailgating throughout it. Some of the cleanest racing that I've seen in a wet race as well. The touring car drivers really not letting ourselves down. Up next week as part of a 3-part British touring car tour, we're heading over to Alton Park's International Circuit. For those of you that aren't too sure where it is, that is in the heart of Cheshire, so keep your eye out for the weather reports in and around Cheshire for Monday midday next week, and that'll give you a bit of an idea on what you can expect and what these drivers can expect as we go into round 3. Remember, folks, as well, that you can join Lecky 2000 for the GT1s on Thursday, 8 p.m. GMT or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's around Indianapolis Road Circuit. You'll be able to see me, Jack Menzies, and a couple of other drivers battling it out around a very tricky Indianapolis road course. It does look as though we've got some dry weather scheduled for that one. So keep your eye out on the weather report. That'll be locked in tomorrow afternoon. Other than that, that is all that we've got time for here at Flux Motorsport TV. Once again, if you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'd also love any comments if you're watching this on the replays. And if you want to catch any of the action, or maybe you want a short summary to send over to someone, the highlight reels will be up as soon as possible. Also, if you want more information on what we do here at Flux Motorsport, remember that website, it's www.fluxmotorsport.com. You'll be able to join the Discord or leave us a donation to keep this community as buoyant as possible. Other than that, I wish you all the very best. I'll see you again next week for Alton Park International. Take care of each other, and we look forward to seeing you again for our GT1 race. Good evening.